Snow is coming to the southeast this weekend, and I know many of you have been waiting for this. The question isn't whether it will snow. The question is where, how much, and whether the models will hold together or fall apart like they've done so many times before. Let me be clear from the start. This is not a done deal. We're still 2 days out from the event. Models can and will change. But right now, there's legitimate potential for accumulating snow across parts of the Carolinas, Georgia, and even into the Florida Panhandle. And that deserves serious attention. Right now, conditions across the southeast couldn't be more different from what's coming. South Carolina has been dealing with rainy weather all week. Temperatures running above normal. That warm, wet pattern is about to collide with Arctic air moving down from the north. And when warm moisture meets cold air in the south, that's when things get interesting. Compare that to what's happening further north. Parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeast have already seen their share of winter weather this season. Maryland got snow. Virginia got snow. The Carolinas, you've been watching everyone else get the white stuff while you deal with rain and gray skies. That could change this weekend. Let's talk about the setup. And this is where the meteorology gets important. We have a strong Arctic high-pressure system pushing down from Canada. This is the cold air mass. Temperatures behind this front are dropping into the teens and 20s across the mid-Atlantic. That cold air is going to be in place across the southeast by Saturday night into Sunday. At the same time, we have a low-pressure system developing along the Gulf Coast. This is the moisture source. This system is going to track northeast across the deep south, bringing precipitation. The critical question is the exact track of this low and how quickly the cold air arrives. According to the latest model runs from the National Weather Service, we're looking at several scenarios, and this is where it gets complicated. The GFS model, the Global Forecast System, one of the primary American models, shows the low pressure tracking further west and north. On this solution, we're looking at significant snowfall across central South Carolina, including the Columbia area, extending northeast into North Carolina. The GFS has been consistent with this western track for several runs now. On this model, areas around Columbia could see 2 to 4 inches of snow. Some parts of central North Carolina, particularly around Raleigh, could see 3 to 6 inches if everything comes together. But here's the problem. The GFS has been known to be overly optimistic with winter precipitation in the south. It tends to show more snow further inland than actually verifies. So while this solution is exciting, we need to temper expectations. Now let's look at the European model, the ECMWF. This is generally considered the more reliable model for medium-range forecasting. The Euro shows a different solution. On the European model, the low pressure tracks further east and south. This keeps the heaviest precipitation closer to the coast. On this scenario, areas like Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and the coastal sections of North Carolina see the best chance for accumulating snow. Inland areas, including Columbia and Charlotte, see much less, maybe a coating to an inch, maybe just cold rain. The difference between these two models is significant. We're talking about the difference between a memorable snow event and a disappointing cold rain. And this is exactly the kind of situation that makes forecasting winter weather in the South so difficult. Then there is the NAM model. The North American mesoscale model runs at higher resolution, but only out to about 84 hours. The NAM has been showing a solution similar to the GFS, with snow extending further inland. But the NAM also has a tendency to overdo snowfall totals in the south, particularly in setup like this where we're dealing with marginal temperatures. Here's what we know with high confidence. Cold air will be in place across the southeast by Saturday night. That is not in question. Temperatures will drop into the 20s and 30s. Wind chills will make it feel even colder. This is the coldest air the region has seen so far this winter season. We also know with high confidence that precipitation will move into the region Sunday into Monday. Moisture from the Gulf of Mexico will stream northeast. The question is whether that precipitation falls as rain, a mix, or snow. Let me break this down by region and understand these are current forecasts based on the most recent model data. This will likely change. For the coastal areas of South Carolina and North Carolina, including Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, the forecast leans toward accumulating snow. Right now, we're looking at 1 to 3 inches possible, with higher amounts closer to the North Carolina coast. The European model supports this solution. Coastal areas tend to do better in these setups because the maritime influence can help with cooling. However, these same areas also have to fight against warmer ocean temperatures, which can limit accumulation near the immediate coastline. For the Midlands of South Carolina, this is where the forecast gets tricky. Columbia sits right in the middle of the uncertainty. The GFS wants to give you 2 to 4 inches. The Euro says maybe an inch, maybe just rain. My assessment right now, based on climatology and how these systems typically verify, is that there's about a 50-50 chance of accumulating snow in Columbia. If the system tracks just slightly further west than the Euro shows, you could see a few inches. If it tracks further east, you get rain or just a brief period of snow with little accumulation. Charlotte, North Carolina faces a similar situation. You are in that marginal zone, not quite cold enough to guarantee all snow, not quite warm enough to guarantee all rain. Current thinking suggests a period of rain transitioning to snow Sunday night into Monday morning. Accumulation potential is low, maybe a dusting to an inch unless the system overperforms. Raleigh and the Triangle area of North Carolina, you are in a slightly better position. Further east, better positioned for colder air to filter in. Right now, 1 to 3 inches looks reasonable if the timing works out. The key is whether precipitation continues long enough after the changeover from rain to snow. For the upstate of South Carolina and the western Carolinas, including Greenville, Spartanburg, Asheville, the forecast is less promising for snow with this system. Higher terrain usually helps with snow, but in this case, the moisture may not make it far enough west. Light snow or flurries are possible, but accumulation looks unlikely. The mountains always seem to either clean up or get left out entirely in these coastal systems, and this one appears to be a miss for the higher elevations. Now let's talk about Georgia. And this is where things get interesting for a different reason. The southern parts of Georgia, particularly southwest Georgia and into the Florida panhandle, have an outside chance at seeing snow. Now I know that sounds unusual, but last January, this same region saw snow. Crestview, Florida set records. It can happen. Right now, the models are hinting at the possibility of a period of snow or a wintry mix for areas like Valdosta, Georgia, and Tallahassee, Florida. The confidence is low. The amounts would be minor, likely just a coating to an inch, if anything, but it is worth monitoring if you are in these areas. Central Georgia, including Macon, Columbus, Augusta, the forecast leans toward rain or a brief mix. Temperatures will be cold, but probably not cold enough for sustained snow. That said, we saw last year how quickly these forecasts can change. Last January, Macon wasn't expecting much and then ended up with accumulating snow. So while confidence is low right now, I wouldn't completely write it off. North Georgia, including Metro Atlanta, this is frustrating territory. You've been cold enough this winter. The problem has been moisture, and this system looks to have the same issue. Current model consensus suggests you stay mostly dry or see just light precipitation that doesn't amount to much. Atlanta has been snake-bitten this winter when it comes to snow chances, and this system appears likely to continue that trend. However, there is still time for adjustments. If the low pressure tracks further west than currently forecast, Atlanta could get into the game. Let me talk about timing, because knowing when this happens is almost as important as knowing where. The system begins to move into the region Saturday night. Initial precipitation will be rain for most areas. This is important. The ground will be wet and above freezing when precipitation starts. That makes accumulation more difficult initially, even if temperatures aloft are cold enough for snow. The transition from rain to snow, if it happens, will occur Sunday morning through Sunday afternoon for most areas. This is when the cold air really wraps in behind the system. Areas that see the best snowfall will likely see it Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. By Monday morning, the system should be pulling away. Any snow that accumulated will start to melt quickly as temperatures moderate and the sun comes out. So we're looking at a window of roughly 12 to 18 hours where snow is possible across the region. It's not a prolonged event. It's a fast-moving system that actually works against heavy accumulation because you need time for snow to pile up. Now let us address the elephant in the room. Why is this so difficult to forecast? Winter weather in the southeast is notoriously hard to predict because we are dealing with marginal temperatures. Up north, when a storm comes through in January, it's 10 degrees. It is snow. No question. Down here, we're fighting over a few degrees difference between 32 and 35. That tiny difference determines whether you see 6 inches of snow or just cold rain. We're also dealing with dynamic cooling. That S when heavy precipitation falling through the atmosphere cools the air column. Even if the surface temperature starts at 35 degrees, heavy snow can cool things down to 32 or below. Models struggle to capture this process accurately. There's also the issue of surface temperature versus temperature aloft. You can have snow falling from the clouds, but if the surface is above freezing, it melts on contact. This is why we often see snow in the south that doesn't stick. It looks impressive falling, but the ground is too warm. Historical context matters here. Many of you remember significant snow events in the southeast, the blizzard of '93, the January snowstorm of 2000. These were legitimate major winter storms. This system is not in that category. This is a more typical Gulf Coast low that may or may not produce accumulating snow depending on exact track and timing, but that doesn't make it unimportant. Even a few inches of snow in the south causes major disruptions. Roads aren't treated. People don't know how to drive in it. Schools close. It's a significant event, even if the snow totals would be laughable to someone in Buffalo. Let me give you specific practical guidance based on where you are. If you are in the coastal Carolinas, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, you should prepare for the possibility of accumulating snow Sunday into Monday. Stock up on essentials. Not because you'll be snowed in for days, but because even a couple inches will make roads hazardous and stores may close. Bread, milk, batteries, medications. Make sure you have what you need. If you have to drive, understand that bridges and overpasses will freeze first. Give yourself extra time and space. For the Midlands, Columbia area, Central South Carolina, prepare for uncertainty. You might wake up Monday to a few inches of snow. You might wake up to just wet roads. The prudent approach is to prepare as if you'll get snow, but don't be disappointed if it doesn't materialize. Make sure your vehicle has windshield washer fluid rated for cold temperatures. Make sure your tires have good tread. Have a plan for Monday morning in case roads are impacted. Charlotte, Raleigh, Triangle area, similar advice. This could go either way. Preparation is key. If you have the flexibility to work from home Monday, consider it. Not because we expecting 2 feet of snow, but because even a small amount can create hazardous conditions during morning rush hour. For areas that look less likely to see snow, remember that even if you don't get accumulation, you are still going to experience the coldest temperatures of the winter so far. Protect outdoor plants, bring in pets, make sure elderly neighbors have adequate heating. Wind chills Sunday night into Monday morning will be in the teens and 20s across much of the southeast. That is dangerous cold for this region. Let us talk about what could go right and what could go wrong with this forecast. Best case scenario for snow lovers. The low pressure system tracks slightly further west than the Euro shows, closer to the GFS solution. Cold air arrives earlier and deeper than forecast. Precipitation rates are heavy enough to generate dynamic cooling. In this scenario, we're looking at 4 to 6 inches across central South Carolina and central North Carolina with locally higher amounts. Coastal areas could see 6 to 8 inches. This would be a significant snow event for the region. Worst case scenario, the low tracks too far east and south. Cold air arrives late. Precipitation is light and brief. Most areas see just cold rain or a quick changeover to snow that doesn't accumulate. This is actually the more common outcome in these marginal setups. We get excited about model snow maps, and then reality delivers rain. Most likely scenario, based on climatology and model trends, a mixed bag. Coastal areas see accumulating snow, maybe 2 to 4 inches. Inland areas see a period of rain, changing to snow with light accumulation coating to 2 inches. Higher elevations and far inland areas see little to nothing. Some areas overperform, some underperform, and we spend Monday morning sorting out who got what. I want to address something important. There's been a lot of hype on social media about this system. Screenshots of model snow maps showing impressive totals, viral posts about a major winter storm. I need to inject some reality here. This is not a major winter storm. This is a marginal winter weather event that may or may not produce accumulating snow depending on exact track and timing. The potential exists, but potential and guarantee are very different things. I am not trying to be a buzzkill. I am trying to give you realistic expectations. If you've lived in the Southeast long enough, you've seen this movie before. Models show snow, everyone gets excited, and then it rains. Or it snows for 20 minutes and stops. or the snow falls but doesn't stick because the ground is too warm. That said, it's also possible this overperforms. Last January, many areas in the southeast saw unexpected snow. Forecasts were conservative, and then the system delivered more than expected. It happens. That is why we continue to monitor and update. What should you watch for in the next 48 hours? First, watch the model trends. If the GFS and Euro start to converge on a similar solution, confidence goes up. If they continue to diverge, confidence stays low. The overnight model runs tonight, Thursday night into Friday morning will be critical. Second, watch what the National Weather Service offices in the southeast are saying. These are your local forecast offices. They know the local terrain, the local climatology. If they start issuing winter storm watches, that means confidence is increasing. Right now, most offices are in a wait-and-see mode, mentioning the possibility but not committing. Third, watch the short-range, high-resolution models as we get closer. The NAM, the HRR, these models come into play Friday and Saturday. They'll give us better detail on exact timing and intensity. One more thing about preparation, and this is particularly important for areas that typically see snow. If you in Florida, southern Georgia, areas that rarely see winter weather, and you do end up getting snow, understand that your infrastructure isn't set up for it. There are no snowplows, there's no salt on the roads. Most people don't own heavy winter coats because you don't need them 98% of the time. Multiple thin layers work better than trying to find a parka you don't own. A long sleeve shirt, a hoodie, a windbreaker on top. That'll get you through a day or two of unusual cold. For those with outdoor animals, bring them inside if possible. Livestock needs access to unfrozen water. Check on that throughout the day if temperatures drop below freezing. Outdoor faucets and pipes, particularly in older homes or mobile homes, are vulnerable to freezing when temperatures drop into the 20s for extended periods. Let faucets drip overnight. Open cabinet doors under sinks to let warm air circulate around pipes. These things are second nature to people who deal with winter regularly, but in the southeast, we don't think about them because we don't need to most years. This is one of those times when you do. Let me talk about the broader pattern, because this isn't just a one-off event. We were seeing a significant pattern shift across the eastern United States. The polar vortex, that's the circulation of cold air around the Arctic, has been disrupted. This is called a sudden stratospheric warming event. When this happens, it sends lobes of Arctic air plunging south into the mid-latitudes. This happened last January as well. It's becoming more common. Scientists are still researching the exact mechanisms, but the effect is clear. Periods of extreme cold penetrating further south than typical. What this means for the rest of winter is that we are entering a more active, colder pattern for the east. This particular system is just the first. There are indications of additional opportunities for winter weather later in January and into early February. For those of you who love snow, this pattern is promising. For those who hate cold weather, I am sorry, but you are going to have to endure this for a while longer. The extended outlook suggests above normal chances of cold temperatures across the eastern United States through at least the end of January. But here is the thing about these patterns. They can shift quickly. A sudden stratospheric warming event typically affects weather for 2 to 6 weeks. By mid-February, we could be back to a milder pattern. Early spring could come quickly. So if you are suffering through the cold, there's light at the end of the tunnel. One final thought on this weekend system specifically. I know many of you are hoping for snow. Your kids have never seen it. You moved to the south from up north and you miss it, or you just think it's beautiful and you want to experience it. I get it. I understand that desire. But I also know many of you are dreading this. You elderly and cold is painful. You have arthritis and every degree below 40 makes it worse. You have to work regardless of conditions, and driving in winter weather scares you. You are equally valid. Weather affects all of us differently. What's exciting to one person is a nightmare to another. My job is to give you accurate information so you can prepare accordingly, whatever your situation. So here is my bottom line forecast for this weekend system, subject to change as we get new data. Coastal Carolinas, accumulating snow likely 2 to 4 inches possible. Greatest confidence area of the forecast. Central Carolinas inland to Columbia, Raleigh area, accumulating snow possible, coating to 3 inches. Lower confidence, could easily be more rain than snow. Charlotte Metro, brief period of snow possible, minimal accumulation expected, coating to 1 inch. Upstate South Carolina, western North Carolina mountains, little to no accumulation expected, southern Georgia, Florida. Panhandle, outside chance of snow or wintry mix, very low confidence, minimal impact expected. Northern Georgia, Atlanta metro, mostly dry or light precipitation, accumulation unlikely. Timing, Saturday night through Monday morning, with best snow Sunday afternoon and night. Temperatures, lows in the 20s, highs in the 30s, Sunday and Monday. Wind chills in the teens. Keep monitoring updates. This forecast will change as we get closer. The National Weather Service will have the most up-to-date local information. Local news meteorologists know their areas and are worth watching. And whatever happens, whether you get 6 inches or nothing at all, stay safe. Don't drive unless you have to. Check on neighbors, especially elderly folks living alone. Keep devices charged in case of power outages. Have food and water for a couple days. Winter weather in the southeast is rare enough to be special, but common enough that we should be prepared. This weekend might bring that snow you've been waiting for, or it might bring another disappointment. Either way, we'll get through it together, and we'll be watching the next system that comes along. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll have updates